Hello friends, this is Coldrun. Welcome back to a blind playthrough of Final Fantasy XIV's Endwalker 6.4 MSQ here. So, we got Urian J here. We're going to continue with, we just did the Ether font. We're going to continue with the MSQ. Like Fear to Flame. Time to proceed to the next stage of your plan. With the tanks or transportation thus arranged, our first task is complete. We may now turn our attention to the second. To wit, obtaining the blessing of the Ilsabard contingent to use the Tower of Babel to channel energy onto the moon. That's right. Our destination is Camp Broken Glass, where we may present our petition to Commander Lucia. Off we go. I love Lucia. Kakushu, allow me to personally thank you for your assistance during the recent Void-Sent incursion. Your actions saved many. What brings you here today? Varshahn, pray forgive us for not sending word in advance, Commander, but we seek your cooperation in a matter of great import. Sad Maxima. Or, I don't know, he always looks kind of sad, doesn't he? Indeed, we appreciate you consulting with us instead of taking unilateral action. 'Tis no simple matter to activate the Tower of Babel, and I speak not only of the technological challenges. Personally, I think we must consider the emotional impact of such an action. Above all else, what emotional impact does it have? Though we have yet to re-establish a governing body, we provisionally refer to those who remain here as the Garlean community. Ah, okay, yep. As you would expect, they are predominantly native Garleans, most of whom are uncomfortable with ethereal manipulation. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. To compound matters, the trauma inflicted by Anima is still fresh. If the tower were to suddenly light up again, it's like to cause distress and reopen old wounds. Yeah, Chernobyl is reopened for business. Better than facing a mass invasion by Golbez and his Void-Sent hordes, surely. Yeah, that's the other thing, is sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Of course, we acknowledge the gravity of the situation as well as the promised bloodshed should we fail to act. Yet, even were we to convey your warning to the public, many simply do not understand the workings of magic or the rift. They will struggle to comprehend why they must be forced to relive personal horrors for the sake of something they cannot imagine. What's there to imagine? Haven't these people seen Void-Sent with their own eyes? They have, haven't they? Let us suppose you encounter someone who is freezing in this cold. A natural thing might be to make them a fire, yes? But what if that person's sole experience with fire was being badly burned by it, and they harbored an acute fear? Despite the benefits, nay, the necessity of the warmth you offer, they may flee on instinct, or worse, interpret your actions for aggression and lash out. So just practically speaking, you do need to find a way to work with them. So like the fire that torments this individual, the Tower of Babel torments the people of Garlemald. Yet we cannot afford to falter here. We must find a way to help them overcome their fear. I agree. To that end, the contingent will assist however we can. I'm glad they're even considering this angle. We should speak with Alphino and Alizé. With the rapport they have established with the Garlean people, I dare say they can provide us with valuable insights. In the meantime, Urian J, might I ask that you remain here to oversee the technical aspects of the tower's activation? I like so much that this is where Alphino and Alizé's character has gone to, that they're, at this point, they are the, at this point, like, Alphino and Alizé are the main, like, they're the Garlean, the people with the rapport with the Garleans. And it's not like they hated Garleans before or anything, but they were just, they took such a straightforward, head-on approach. I could just warp there. They took such a head-on approach before, and just thinking of what the Garlean storyline, one of the best in all of Final Fantasy, like the best zone story arcs was Garlemald, and thinking of their role in it versus where they are now is kind of wonderful. I knew you wouldn't be able to stay away. Hello, Alize. To dread fire even when one is freezing, to become a prisoner of one's fear. It is a fate to which Voidsent too can succumb, aye. Especially when Voidsent are under threat 24/7. I'm glad to see you, Kakushu. Vidra has explained our present dilemma. 'Tis no unfounded concern that the Garleans might take poorly to the reactivation of the Tower of Babel. Excuse me, sneeze. I don't know, I've got allergies or something today. That's putting it mildly. Many would be up in arms over it. Trust in the Ilsabard contingent is fragile enough. We need to tread lightly, or we risk jeopardizing everything we've achieved. I love the hat, the zero hat tip. That's got to be. I wonder if that's going to be a mote that you can get at some point, like by the end of 6.5 or whatever. Trust again. Yeah, it keeps coming up. Recurring theme. Well, it seems to me there's naught for it but to speak with the people. I mean, I guess it's small enough that you can talk with them individually. It's not like there's a problem in everyone in New York City is worried about a stadium being built on the west side, and so let's assuage their fears by talking to 4 people to complete the quest. Now, this is smaller. Rather than harping on about the necessity of the plan, we need to lend an ear to their concerns. Then perhaps we can begin working towards a compromise. In that case, I'll take you to meet the community leaders. They're at a station called Senatus, near the Cenaculum Imperialis. I would be honored to speak with them, though it would be prudent to learn where people might elsewhere stand as well. But that I will leave to the others. Save Zero, might you accompany me? I'm sure those in Tapper's Den will have their own opinions. Alphino, if I may drag you along? Tertium, we leave to you. You are no stranger to the people here, so it should take little prodding to convince them to speak freely. Euless. Once it's settled. Once you've learned what you can, let's all meet in the Forum Solius. The Forum of Solus. Where... R.I.P. Solus. Where we'll have what I hope is a productive discussion. Serious lad. No, stop it. The tower's evil. It'll turn us all evil. I don't want to hear it. Leave me alone. Not much of middle ground to work with there. Fretting lady. Fie, the tower isn't right, I tell you. All those magics. Years ago, when I lived in the provinces, the locals razed our village to the ground with the stuff. Made things appear and disappear and fly and burn. I can still see it when I close my eyes. You've done us a good turn, dear, but let's not talk about that tower any longer. It's unnatural, it is. Again, very, very fair, even though we're going to activate it anyway. Malleus. Activate the Tower of Babel. Are you out of your mind? That abomination transformed my friends and family into monsters. I can't even bear to look at it whenever I step outside. If you want to do something for us, tear the bloody thing down. It literally destroyed a lot of their lives. It was the thing that took a lot of their family members. Contemplative citizen. You going to be open to it? The Tower of Babel. But what's it got to do with the Voidsent? I can't say I really understand. Still, your people have done much and more for us, Garleans. If you say it's necessary, then that's good enough for me. Yeah, it's not 100%, but there's a lot of trauma to work with here. Papaya. Yum. Whatever its present state, the Imperial Palace was once the pride of Garlemald. I mean no disrespect to you and yours, but Shouldn't the Garlean people be its caretakers instead of foreigners? Though if we dared speak thus to some of the contingent, they might make assumptions, cut our rations, or worse. No, forget I said anything, please. Yeah, it's not an unfounded fear. I mean, I think in this case it is. It's not baseless, but it is. I think it's wrong, but I'm certain it's wrong. We're not going to cut your rations for disagreeing or anything like that, but like, it's not an unfounded. It's not a baseless fear. Like, you're basically, you've lost a war, and your homeland is occupied by a foreign force. However benevolent, sincerely benevolent that force is. So understandable, all understandable. Euless is on his way with the others. I hope you found the people more receptive than we did, some of them. But not for the most part. Fukushu, may I present to you Lords Neas and Metius, magistrates of our political council. They have been spearheading the efforts to establish a new system of government here. When we raised the subject of the Tower of Babel, they insisted that we speak no further until joined by representatives of the Ilsabard contingent. I see Alphino and Alizé have yet to arrive, though, so perhaps we should wait. It doesn't matter if only some of you are present. We simply wish to make one thing perfectly clear. The Tower is the manifestation of Garlean ingenuity and authority. It was once the abode of the imperial family, and it will forever bear tremendous cultural significance. It is insulting enough that we have had to suffer foreigners occupying it under the guise of rendering foreign aid, and now you propose reactivating it? Nay, we have had enough. What are you gonna do about it? No, that's the wrong attitude. The Garlemald of old may have fallen, but she fell in civil war to her own people, not to Eorzea nor any other land. The Civil War definitely didn't help, but I think you mostly fell to the Ascian stuff. But you were also raised up by the Ascian stuff, so maybe that's basically a civil war. We came here to assert our unequivocal claim to our territory. Garlemald and all that lies within our bounds is beholden to no one. I mean, even if it is beholden to no one, you're not, like, this, even if this is a request where, I don't know. Yeah. The fear, it's funny, the fear in this case isn't even just the trauma of of the Tower of Babel's monstrosity. It's the flame that they're afraid of in this case is foreigners. Probably as much or if not more so than the Tower of Babel. Not everyone. Everyone's different here, but that seems to be at least these two. Our sovereignty is of paramount importance. Yeah, we will treat with the Ilsabard contingent if only to assert our rights. If your intentions are as benevolent as you claim, you will agree to our demands. It's a fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, to some extent, we'll need to do this anyway, but I just hope it doesn't come to that. I don't think it'll come to that. Like, just saying, screw you, we're doing it anyway, no matter what. The Fallen Empire. One of the Magic expansions I most remember from when growing up. Euless is eager to get out of the cold. Since their excellencies are resolved to negotiate with the contingent, I will escort them to Tertium. I'll also instruct Alphino and Alizé to meet us there. Lord Metius, Lord Neas, by your leave, my comrades and I would speak with the residents of Sonatus. Though the Ilsabard contingent holds the Tower of Babel, it is I who wishes for it to be reactivated, and thus I think it meet that I be present for this discussion. Yet my understanding of your people's hardships, of their hopes and desires, of their dreams for the future, is sorely lacking. In my ignorance, I would struggle to contribute. Lest you worry, I will not plead our case to the community in your absence. I wish only to identify common ground upon which we might build a relationship that sees us overcome our differences. Very well, but know that the guards will not hesitate to escort you from the premises should they judge your actions to be inappropriate. Ooh, I wonder if it's going to be like a conversation mini-game where we have to learn but not go too far. It's settled. If it's settled, then you should all head to Senatus. I'll join you there after I see their excellencies safely to Tertium. Here it is, Senatus, a temporary refuge for political dignitaries, hence the tight security. I'm given to understand that outsiders are normally not permitted so much as a glimpse inside. We should consider ourselves fortunate to be given this opportunity. I hope it will be worth the trouble. Yeah, so do I. I think it will. In we go. The basic design is reminiscent of Tertium, though somewhat embellished. Yeah, it's a little bit fancier, not much though. To begin, I propose we split up and ask the residents for their views on the Ilsabard contingent and the current state of affairs. We would also do well to learn more about this enclave itself. Should you observe anything of note, pray keep it in mind. It is through open hearts and open minds that I believe we may yet convince their leaders to work with us for the greater good. Yeah, this is a listening session. Pelagia. Isn't that the name of a disease? No, wait, I think it's pellagra. I think it's a vitamin deficiency. Anyway. You want to know what I think? I'm a soldier. I try not to think about politics at all. I'll say this much. Our leaders labor to preserve our culture, our way of life, what remains of it at any rate. I trust them to do what's best for Garlemald. Alright, so we do have to convince the leaders. Barrel of ceruleum, what do you think? What's your impression of things? Your take on the political landscape? You recognize the large casks as the very same you and your comrades used to transport ceruleum from Lapis Manalis. Why they are in Senatus is unclear. Is this saying that they're hoarding? Is the whole Zero's comment about how opulent things are, relatively speaking, like, and this a comment on like they're even now they're kind of taking stuff for themselves? Maybe that would be kind of rough if what we had to do was like expose them for not being, as they're exposed their leaders as sucking, so they have to bow to us. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. If it's the case, so be it. But like, I don't know. I hope we find this some other way. Okay, no. The stockpile of assorted supplies bears markings indicating they were provided by the Ilsabard contingent. The Enclave is clearly reliant upon the Alliance for aid. Yeah, it's not like, because it's not like they were living in a golden palace here or anything like that. It's just it's a little bit more formal than Tertium. Marcus. How do I feel about the contingent? Conflicted, to say the least. I've been tasked with the distribution of supplies, and I know as well as any that we couldn't survive without outside aid. Be that as it may, even though the Empire has collapsed, we have our pride. People don't want to be beholden to others forever, and there's no denying that it chafes to see our benefactors occupying the Imperial Palace. Could it be like a joint contingent then, like into Babel? Could it be like something where we go alongside each other, so it's not just us marching in there? If we could convince them to work alongside us, like to have a joint expedition sort of thing. Finished touring the Enclave, have you? What were you able to learn? Much the same as me, then. They accept the contingent's help out of necessity and harbor a measure of resentment. They have only themselves to blame. If they don't like the bargain, they should reject it. I don't buy that. And I don't think I'm meant to buy that. But, like, you can take the best you're given and still think, boy, this kind of sucks. How many times must I tell you it's absolutely out of the question? Getting into an argument internally about this? What's going on? We were wondering the very same. We came running when we heard shouting. Is aught the matter? Oh, no, I was just trying to explain. Mayhap you can clear this up. The contingent has made a reasonable request, but this man insists it's impossible. It concerns the Magitech weapons which run rampant throughout Regio Urbanissima. Every time we deliver supplies here, we have to dispatch extra men to defend against potential attacks. To address the issue once and for all, we've proposed the elimination of all machina that loiter near the supply route, but you heard him, they refuse to even consider it. The magistrates have already spoken on this matter. Rampant or no, those war machina are Garlean assets. Furthermore, who's to say they are as dangerous as you attest? It's been suggested this could be a pretense to scavenge Magitech material for your own ends. I know not if this is the case, but the fact remains we cannot allow you to destroy them. More speculation by the magistrates, I presume. Ridiculous, but they have spoken, and unless we want to inflame intentions further, there's naught we can do. How complicated relations become when not grounded in a clear and equitable arrangement. That is true. That is absolutely true. An equitable arrangement, of course. Well do I understand the difficulty of your position. As a soldier, you must do your duty and obey your superiors. I have an idea, but I must first speak with Commander Lucia. May I take charge of this matter? But by all means. Yeah, they don't even know they're talking to a big old dragon. Alright, so heading back to Camp Broken Glass. Is he going to be, say what I mean, the whole equitable arrangement thing, I wonder if he's going to have the same idea that I was talking about or something similar. Maxima, welcome back, all of you. I pray there have been positive developments in your appeal to the Garlean community. Mayhap not yet, but there is a method by which I believe all stand to gain. As a satrap, I intend to propose a trade agreement between Varshahn and the people of Garlemald. This is not what I expected. But it makes sense. You're requesting something from another people. And you're not the Ilsabard contingent. Please continue. The people of this nation have lived through its collapse and more, yet they have chosen to remain, for it is their home. That they have been able to survive thus far is thanks to the Ilsabard contingent, or rather, in less flattering terms, they are entirely at your mercy. Despite your noble intentions, this one-sided relationship has fueled feelings of frustration and resentment. It is no surprise that some Garleans are loath to engage with foreigners for fear of indebting themselves further, or surrendering more of their already limited autonomy. Yeah, this doesn't have to be a request for like a free request. It could be, yeah, you're offering something in exchange. Equitably. That is why I wish to present them with an equitable arrangement. One that would restore to them a sense of agency after having been forced to rely upon charity. I love this. I love this a lot. So much better than what I was fearing. Easier said than done. What exactly did you have in mind? Long have Garlemald and Varshahn abided by a treaty of non-interference. Freely have we traded with one another, and I wish to but continue in this tradition. We would provide your people with such supplies as you require, in return for which you would grant us leave to use the Tower of Babel, as well as share your Magitech resources and expertise. As we become more reliant upon your technologies, we will of course require more ceruleum to fuel them. This you possess in abundance, and for it you will be duly compensated. Varshann's culture will be enriched by your Magitech wonders. Yeah, the alchemists there are going to love it. And our ever-increasing demand for your wares will see Garlemald grow wealthy and prosperous. Only when both sides keep the interests of the other in mind can an equitable relationship be forged. 'Tis a principle I once thought I understood, but I have come to appreciate all the more in recent days, thanks to the sage counsel of a friend from beyond the rift. That's right, there's a lot to be said for how direct and importance the whole, like, idea of equivalent exchange, to use a term, is that Zero really crystallizes. Your Excellency, thank you for your careful consideration of Garlemald's future. Though I cannot speak for every Garlean, I myself see no reason to object to your proposal. Indeed, if Varshahn were to take the initiative, other nations may follow suit and seek to normalize trade relations with us. If you see the sense in my proposal, then I ask you to join me in the negotiations at Tertium. Your support may be instrumental in winning over Lords Neas and Metius. By all means, go with them. I have matters here well in hand. Because even if I disagree with, like, and Urianger is coming too, even though I disagree with Neas and Metius' take on it, like, I'm glad they're not just made out to be evil or corrupt or whatever. Because it's not like an unreasonable take for a political leader of a fallen empire to have. And if trade matters do collapse, like, or if not, if trade matters collapse, if they end up being just utter, like, if the government they're like is, all right, we've decided on a new government, we're making the conquering new empire of Garlemald, the Solian Empire reborn, then, like, you know, we cut off trade relations. Well, there's other options at that point. That's not an immediate fear. A crowd you may have brought, but numbers will not intimidate us. The Tower of Babel is ours by rights, and nothing you do will convince us otherwise. Rest assured, it is not our intent to infringe upon the rights of the people of Garlemald. Let us instead discuss the future. As the satrap of Varshahn, I wish to establish a new trade agreement between our nations. A while later, I assume. The aid we presently receive will not last forever, my lords. Sooner or later we must stand on our own 2 feet. But to do so we must secure a means of replenishing our coffers, and the proposed agreement presents a rare opportunity. It is true we do not want from Magitech and Ceruleum, and foreign currency will be needed to procure such things as we lack. It would depend on the precise terms, but I can see the merits. I'm glad they point out that it's not. This is like, trade agreements are like giant complex things, but... What? I can't believe what I'm hearing. You served the Emperor. You were a proud patriot, yet now you entertain selling national resources like a common merchant. Are merchants not important? Like, that's what you do in international trade. You sell national resources. Like you, I weep for what we have lost, but if we were to rebuild Garlemald, we must make use of what precious few assets remain to us. Nonsense, utter nonsense. You are a traitor, Neas, and there will be a reckoning. Oh yes, when the people of Sonatus learn of this, they will cry out for your blood. I really don't think they will. Lord Metius, wait, it isn't safe out there. Are you going to get ripped apart by one of the Magitech that we were just talking about? That would be an unfortunate way to end things. Again, like, he's an antagonist, but he doesn't seem... It seems like the kind of antagonist you'd reasonably expect to have, like, if not him, someone else, as like a pretty common voice in a post-war Garlean world. Urianger. To the best of my knowledge, Lord Metius is a civil servant with no combat experience. Should he meet with misfortune, he may fare poorly. An embarrassing display. Lord Naeus going in. Yeah, I feel like that thing is going to come up again, the Magitech thing. Bonds of trust concern is writ plain on Ulysses' face. It's far too dangerous for a civilian to be outside alone. We must go after Lord Metius. Let us leave matters here in Maxima's care while the rest of us join in the search. If Lord Metius is bound for Sonatus, we may be able to catch up to him in Regio Urbanissima. I pray he has not come to any harm. Yep, there he is. Runaway satellite. Yeah, so this is what they were setting up with that whole conversation from before. You're welcome. Find Metius and defeat any enemies which threaten him. I'm alive. Yeah, the threat of roving Magitech was real.
Don't think I'm indebted to you. I never asked for your help.
You love Garlemald dearly, Lord Metius. That much is plain. But you're not alone in that. We all mourn what has become of our homeland. Bristle at having to rely upon outsiders simply to survive the cold. Even now, I struggle with fear and uncertainty. Day after day, I ask myself, what is right? Where do we go from here? I've yet to find the answers. But I won't stop looking nonetheless. And I won't avert my gaze from our grim reality.
Is there hope for us?
Boy, that was a moment.
Aye. So long as we live. Garlemald lies in ruins, but the bonds between us will never be broken.
Yeah, as long as we live, unlike some.
We are the chain that connects generations past and future. You and I, it's links. Help us, Lord Metius, for all we have been and for what we may yet become. Please.
To be lectured by the younger, it ill becomes a man of my station. I will rejoin the talks at Tertium. Might I trouble you to escort me? Ere we part, I apologize for my discourtesy. I owe you my life, and I thank you.
No worries, bro. You'd murder me for calling him bro.
Ulysses, wait. I'd like
Or
a word.
he'd try. He probably wouldn't be very good at actually doing any murdering. He'd, like, slap at me.
With you as well. I'm to stay close, after all.
Worry not, we shall see the magistrate safely back to Tertium.
What is it?
You bound that man with trust, didn't you? That's why he did not require coercion to return.
You make it sound like a hypnotic spell. You bound him with trust. But yeah, she's right, though.
Shall we walk, perhaps? Chilly, standing around here.
I don't just love Zero for herself. I love the impact she has on others,
So
and
that's how Zero came to join you.
and the way she shows the things she brings out, the kind of the way that the whole like void scent culture, a weird phrase, but the whole void scent culture helps expose and kind of clarify a lot of how our characters work, their strengths and weaknesses.
Still, I'm not sure I'm qualified to explain something like trust. I wouldn't describe myself as a sociable person. Before all this, any free time I had, I spent looking after my brother and sister. As for the magistrate, I only told him what's been on my mind of late. But I wouldn't have done so, I think, if it weren't for the twins' influence.
They are something.
Trust is infectious, in a manner of speaking. When someone believes in you, it makes you want to believe in them, in others, in yourself. Perhaps it's because the magistrate felt that earnestness that he gave us a chance. As I did, after I was caught trying to steal provisions from the enemy. Trust comes easy in such company.
And that's probably why it's so tough for Zero, because the 13th is a world where it's just not a thing at all. It's immune, it's vaccinated against trust. There is herd immunity against trust there.
Little wonder my world is devoid of it. No one trusts in you, and so you trust in no one.
Yep.
And round the wheel turns.
Have I said I love Zero enough? Because I love Zero.
During the Contra Memoria, we had already come to judge one another based on strength and usefulness. You either used or were used. Those who rejected this rule didn't survive. My mother wanted to save the world, to fulfill the hopes of Memoria's good and true. After she died, I carried on her mission alone.
Alone? Didn't you have anyone to help you?
Almost. 2 men tried just the once.
Is this like a Golbez Cecil thing that we're gonna get?
A swordsman and a mage, whom I met when passing through a village. They had saved the people there from corrupted Memoriates.
So that's Golbez up top. That's got to be Cecil on the bottom. Or whatever is going to be this version of Cecil. Maybe Cluya? No, Cluya, I guess, right? No, Cecil.
They seemed heartened.
Cluya was the father. In Final... for anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy IV, Cluya was the Lunarian father of Cecil and Golbez.
They claimed to be soldiers of a kingdom called Baron, and were traveling the realm in search of a means to end the Contra Memoria.
All right, question. Do you, I guess, and you've probably, if it doesn't come up now, Ben, for 5.5, at this point at least, do you think there's going to be a Red Wings mention at some point? Like, they were members of the, that these two were soldiers of the Red Wings?
They invited me to join them. I refused. How could I not, having learned the lessons of my world? Those who would work with others always have their own motives. I would not place myself at their mercy. I would not be forced to submit.
Yeah, you can definitely understand Garlean perspective here, then, no wonder.
I expected some manner of outburst. Some show of frustration at having failed to deceive me. But they simply watched me walk away. I didn't know what to make of it then, but now... Perhaps they shared a bond of trust. Perhaps they were the last ones left who dared. Perhaps they hoped I was like them too. Perhaps it was just an offer, and nothing more. I continued fighting alone. But ultimately I was undone. Overwhelmed by enemies that had banded together.
Rough to solo a world like that.
I was cold, in pain, wishing desperately that someone would save me. And as I lay there in solitude, I felt it happen. The breaking of our world. Darkness washed over me, and I was swept into the rift. When I finally managed to return, it was to a world forever transformed. My home, now filled with abominations.
So you weren't just turned there, there was a moment where you were swept into the rift between worlds, and then you came back. She probably mentioned that before, but I guess I had forgotten. The timeline, it's hard for me to keep some of the timeline straight.
Learn about trust.
With the memory, it's null.
And forsook it. I never had the power to save my home single-handed. I should have accepted their invitation.
I mean, what if you were right, though? Like, even if these two were, like, you probably should have in this particular case, but you didn't make, like, a foolish choice or anything. Or again, like, it might have been a wrong choice, but it wasn't a baseless choice. Just like with the Garleans.
Had I joined them as I've joined you, I might not have had to face the end of the world alone. But it's all history now. No amount of reflection or regret will change our present reality.
Whatever may have happened in the past, you're still here, Zero. Alive.
Related to the Red Wings thing, by the way, when do you think...
As long as you're alive, there will always be hope, no matter how bad things get.
Related to the Red Wings question, when do you think they're gonna... Because at some point, Zero's gonna be like, no, I am Zero Miss. I don't think she's gonna become a villain the way that Zero Miss was, you know, the big bad of Final Fantasy IV, but, like, at some point, that name is gonna be dropped. Or she's gonna be like, oh, in my culture, Mus was the name for word for trust, so I am now Zero Mus. Or there's something, at some point, something like that is gonna happen. It's just a matter of when. There's no way she's being named Zero in a reference world, in a world referencing Final Fantasy IV without Zero Miss coming at some point.
What you couldn't do yesterday, you might still do today. Think about it. It's plain that you've forged bonds with those around you. If you didn't feel that in some sense, would you have risked your life as you did for a meager ration of boots? I trust you too, for what it's worth.
Here it is again. The fire that burned in my breast when you came to my rescue. The urge to weep, though there is no sorrow. If this is trust, then what must I do? How do I answer it?
I'm actually tearing up a little bit. I don't know why. Again, the sad things don't get me so much as someone being, like, surprised by good things. That's the kind of thing that gets me. Kindness over goodness. Or kindness over sadness. I'll cry at sad stuff too, but it's... I don't cry easily at video games, but this is getting to me. However you like, or with a handshake, perhaps? I think we could say with a handshake, perhaps, because she's looking for some suggestion, like a template. Maybe a handshake? I don't know.
Give me your hand. It's not something you do constantly, mind. A friend is a friend regardless.
A friend. So that's what it means. Someone you trust.
This is wonderful. I'm such a fan of where this patch is going. Oh boy, what a toxic relationship that was. For him as much as anyone. I love when when one of the quests ends up being like, the core of the quest is like, help someone work through deep trauma, restore their hope in friendship, and find the bonds of love. And the quest itself is like kill the drone. Like, it's just, that's the objective we technically accomplished. Aid Metius. Thank you. I feel as though at last I've found the answers I sought, and I owe it all to you and Euless. Right then. I expect the others have already arrived back at Tertium. We should join them. Alright. Give me that locked-in rump steak. Sure. Bop, 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 bop. Full glad am I to see everyone returned, and none the worse for wear. Various representatives of the Garlean community are gathered here this very moment. I dare say this is a fine opportunity to announce the trade agreement. Very quick, but we'll go with that. You've read the memorandum. I trust you find the terms acceptable? I do, and Neus, I pray you forgive me my disgraceful conduct earlier. I'm ashamed not only of my behavior, but of placing the burden of negotiations solely on your shoulders in my absence. Again, they could have gone so many different places to get to the end of us overcoming Garlean fear, of, Garlean distrust, Garlean fear, Garlean legitimate and illegitimate legitimate and less legitimate hesitations about us using the tower. This is the best one I can think of, and I didn't think of it. Like, I like that Final Fantasy, like, so many stories you think, why didn't they just do X or Y? Like, it would have made so much more sense. Final Fantasy usually surprises me by coming up with, like, better options for the story than I would have thought of, and I really appreciate that. Alisaie. You should know that when we brought up the subject of the tower's reactivation to the people at Tapper's Den, some reacted quite strongly. Once we explained it would be to prevent another Voidsent invasion, however, they were more receptive. Yeah, I would expect. It's fair to say that the recent episode is still fresh in their minds. I tagged along to deliver a supply of ceruleum. I have to say, I didn't expect to see such a large crowd. Even the stuffy Imperials who normally keep to themselves in Sonatus are here. My friends and countrymen, lend me your ears. They do have a Roman theme going on. They always have. Friends, Garleans, countrymen. Bless you. Pigeon just sneezed. I am pleased to inform you on this joyous occasion that we, the people of Garlemald, have entered into a trade agreement with Varshahn. To inaugurate our accord, we intend to grant the individuals before you access to the Tower of Babel. In return, Varshahn will provide us with supplies, which will be equally distributed amongst the settlements of our nation. Hornless. Sorry, but he is not hornless. Let me be clear on one point. This is not an act of charity, but trade. A bargain struck between equals, rooted in trust and respect. And it marks a significant step towards rebuilding our nation and regaining true independence. It does. I think it does. Varshahn holds Garlean technology and ingenuity in the highest esteem. It is my hope that, through this agreement, our peoples will enjoy a mutually beneficial relationship for years to come. We are friends with benefits now. Now then, we bid you gather round to hear the particulars that you might convey them to those elsewhere. Garlemald really has a lot to offer. This is not a resource or skill poor nation. Like, trade-wise, they have a lot of assets, even if they're in really rough shape at the moment. So burdened by hardship and trauma were the people of Garlemald that they were unable to imagine a brighter future. To be recognized as equals, as a nation with something of value to offer to others, that validation alone is enough to rekindle their hope. It is by the virtue of this partnership that we may access the Tower of Babel, a rather timely development given the ether tank's impending arrival. Once the tower's stores have been replenished, we need but await Ishtola's signal to channel the energy to the moon, yes? Then you can leave that and anything else on this end to me and Alphino. No need to worry. Devote all your energies to the mission in the void. As ever, I am in your debt. I need to get a hat I can tip. Tough to wear over the headphones, but I'll find a way to make it work. You are good friends. I love this. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm a fan. And yet I know we haven't dealt with Golbez. I know he's still out there. But I'm going to wrap it up here. And next time I imagine I'm going to, even if it's a longer session, I'm going to finish up the 6.4 MSQ at that point. So that's going to be it. This feels like a good stopping point for now. Euless, moments like these give me hope we still have a place in this world. Understandable. I'm not wrong to call them that, am I? Friends. No, you're not. Good friends, and coming from her, you know she's not just saying it to be nice. She would not say something to be nice. That is one of the highest compliments I could say to her. Okay, this is, yep, I like this. Garlean technology shall enrich my people's lives and empower them to achieve great new feats. I'm particularly eager to see what our alchemists are inspired to create. That's what I was thinking too. Yep, so that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and we will continue and finish up this patch, MSQ, in the next video.